This is Psalm 10. Why do you stand so far off, O God, and hide yourself in times of trouble? The arrogant ones oppress and persecute the poor. They seize the lowly and drag them away in their net. They think in their heart, we shall not be moved, for we shall not meet with adversity. They think in their heart, God has forgotten, God has looked away and will never return. Rise up, O God, lift your hand. Do not forget the afflicted. Look upon their trouble and misery. Strengthen their hearts and hear their cries. Give justice to the humble and oppressed, that the proud and boastful may strike terror no more. Welcome to this digital contemplative prayer group. This is a place for all God's people. Whatever your beliefs or doubts, you are always welcome here. If you're new to centering prayer, just follow the instructions as the session unfolds. You're also welcome to use the silence in any other way that is right for you. Loving God, we ask for your blessings upon this gathering, recognizing that we bring the joys and sorrows of our lives here. If anyone would like to mention silently or aloud prayers of gratitude or concern for loved ones, the dead or dying, the vulnerable and suffering, or anyone who is facing a special challenge, please do so now. I've unmuted you.
John Womack.
God, we trust that you hear our prayers, silent or spoken, wordless or in words. So I just wanted to talk for a few minutes before we begin our 20-minute period of centering prayer about why we come apart for prayer when we could be doing something useful instead, and also just why we might turn to Psalms that deal with themes of oppression and injustice and how we might use those in our prayer. Prayer helps us hold all the complexity of our lives and our emotions, and especially the Psalms, which describe so many different emotions. Really, any emotion that you might have can be found in the Psalms, and some of them may seem disturbing when we're in a comfortable place, or they might feel irrelevant to us. Sometimes if we're in a peaceful part of our lives, all the emphasis on enemies and anger may seem unpleasant or irrelevant to us. But then when we're dealing with really afflictive emotions, really challenging emotions, and we don't know how to hold them, we can turn to the Psalms and find that the language that we need to tell God about our emotions is there in the Psalms, sometimes when we might feel unable to articulate what it is that we're feeling. We're encouraged by the Psalms to be honest, complete, not always polite, but to ask for what we want, to express all of it, to enter into the deepest intimacy with God, God who wants to hear from us, who longs to hear from us. Prayer connects us to God, helps us to develop a sense of trust and intimacy from which goodness and energy and guidance will flow to us so that we can find the strength and sense of direction to take the next step. Richard Rohr says, "Without inner transformation, there is no grounded or lasting reform or revolution. From a contemplative stance, you'll know what action is yours to do and what is not yours to do, almost naturally." So there's a kind of a natural rhythm between action and contemplation, prayer and being in the world in an active way, and then coming apart again. And it's up to us to discern what that rhythm is. It's constantly changing. We need to constantly discern. And our prayer helps us to do that. Our prayer connects us with our deep intuition of what we're being called into, what is right for us, which may be very different today than it was yesterday or even 5 minutes ago. Prayer helps us to be prayer in the world. It helps us to open to the world's need, to hold the injustice and oppression we see in our consciousness, to hold it up to the light, to not be afraid of it, not be afraid of expressing our righteous anger, our disappointment, the things that may be needed to express if things are going to change. Thomas Merton says, "What is the relation of contemplation to action? Simply this: he who attempts to act and do things for others or for the world without deepening his own self-understanding, freedom, integrity, and capacity to love will not have anything to give others. He will communicate to them nothing but the contagion of his own obsessions, his aggressiveness, his ego-centered ambitions, his delusions about ends and means, his doctrinaire prejudices and ideas." So the process of prayer prepares us for action. It makes us better people who are able to discern how to be peace, how to be prayer, how to act for change. We can listen to our own hearts and hear what is arising and how we are being led to become our prayer in the world, to be prayerful, transformative presences. And the Psalms, as models of prayer that we're given, can help us to do that, can help us expand ourselves as we try to become bigger, to hold the challenging emotions that we're being called to hold, to feel, to express. The Bible, and Jesus in particular, asks us over and over again to not look away from injustice and oppression. So we'll be chanting Psalm 10. We'll do that now before we begin our centering prayer. And then I'll read it as the Lectio after our centering prayer. Where'd it go? Here. So I'm just going to leave you on mute, and I'm going to chant the Psalm 10, and I'm just going to chant it on a monotone, just on a single note, so it should be very easy to follow, just following the kind of conversational rhythms of the phrases in a natural way. So you're welcome to follow along with me at home. If you'd like to chant it aloud, mute it, or you can just listen, whatever you prefer. Oh, and I'll share it so that you can see it. Why do you stand so far off, O God, and hide yourself in times of trouble? The arrogant ones oppress and persecute the poor. They seize the lowly and drag them away in their net. They think in their heart, we shall not be moved, for we shall not meet with adversity. They think in their heart, God has forgotten, God has looked away and will never return. Rise up, O God, lift your hand. Do not forget the afflicted. Look upon their trouble and misery. Strengthen their hearts and hear their cries. Give justice to the humble and oppressed, that the proud and boastful may strike terror no more. I find that by chanting the Psalms, it helps me to take in the emotions that the Psalm is expressing at a deeper level so that it touches my heart. So let's begin our centering prayer period. Sit with your back straight. Let your body flow out from your spine and find a stable, comfortable position for your hands and feet so that you won't have to change them during the time of prayer. Gently close your eyes and take a few deep breaths and just notice how you are, what you're bringing with you from your day. Is there something trapped in your body that you could release before we begin? Any adjustment you'd like to make, a little wiggle or a shake into a tense part of yourself, or just something you'd like to touch gently with your attention about what you're bringing with you emotionally? And if you can let go of it before we begin, that might be helpful. And if you can't, you can just be aware that that's there and that it's part of your prayer. And just take a moment to notice who God is for you right now, whatever that might mean. A sense of mystery, a sense of presence, a sense of gratitude, a sense of absence, a sense of community, a memory or an image. And just renew your commitment to be open and present to the divine. And then you can let go of that and not think about it during the time of prayer, but it can infuse your prayer period. And if you like, you can silently begin to repeat the sacred word or touch your breath gently with your attention, using your sacred symbol to orient yourself towards God. Just reminding yourself that it's there if you need it. And during the prayer period, whenever you notice that you've become engaged with your thoughts, distracted by them, tangled up in them, you can just ever so gently disengage yourself, returning to the sacred symbol if necessary. Loving God, thank you for the gift of your presence. So I'll read Psalm 10 3 times. And just listen with the ear of the heart. And I'll invite you after the third time to share a word or phrase that resonated for you if you choose. Why do you stand so far off, O God, and hide yourself in times of trouble? The arrogant ones oppress and persecute the poor. They seize the lowly and drag them away in their net. They think in their heart, we shall not be moved, for we shall not meet with adversity. They think in their heart, God has forgotten. God has looked away and will never return. Rise up, O God, lift your hand. Do not forget the afflicted. Look upon their trouble and misery. Strengthen their hearts and hear their cries. Give justice to the humble and oppressed, that the proud and boastful may strike terror no more. Why do you stand so far off, O God, and hide yourself in times of trouble? The arrogant ones oppress and persecute the poor. They seize the lowly and drag them away in their net. They think in their heart, we shall not be moved, for we shall not meet with adversity. They think in their heart, God has forgotten. God has looked away and will never return. Rise up, O God. Lift your hand. Do not forget the afflicted. Look upon their trouble and misery. Strengthen their hearts and hear their cries. Give justice to the humble and oppressed, that the proud and boastful may strike terror no more. Why do you stand so far off, O God, and hide yourself in times of trouble? The arrogant ones oppress and persecute the poor. They seize the lowly and drag them away in their net. They think in their heart, we shall not be moved, for we shall not meet with adversity. They think in their heart, God has forgotten. God has looked away and will never return. Rise up, O God, lift your hand. Do not forget the afflicted. Look upon their trouble and misery. Strengthen their hearts and hear their cries. Give justice to the humble and oppressed, that the proud and boastful may strike terror no more. I invite you to share a word or phrase that resonated for you.
Justice to the humble.
Give justice. Strengthen their hearts.
Humble.
Strengthen their hearts.
Give justice.
I invite you to pray the night prayer with me. Lord, it is night. The night is for stillness. Let us be still in the presence of God. It is night after a long day. What has been done has been done. What has not been done has not been done. Let it be. The night is dark. Let our fears of the darkness of the world and of our own lives rest in you. The night is quiet. Let the quietness of your peace enfold us, all dear to us and all who have no peace. The night heralds the dawn. Let us look expectantly to a new day, new joys, new possibilities. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you so much, Lindsay.
Oh, thank you for being here. It was wonderful to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
It's always
Good night,
wonderful.
Good to
everybody.
be with you.
It
Thank
is.
you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Lindsay.
everyone. Thank you,
Have a
Lindsay.
good week.
God
Thank you.
bless.
Blessings.
Thanks,
Thank
Lindsay. Always special, Lindsay. Thank you.
No, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
special blessings, Lindsay.
No. Night, night, Anne.
Good night. Thank you.